What's going on, boys? No guys here. Welcome back to another video. Now in today's video we've got an interesting one. It's one in terms of stamina. It's submitted by a Patreon user. Don't forget patreon.com/no guys, link is down below in the description. But he said to me, why is this stamina so low? This is a question I always get asked. What influences stamina? There's 5 things that I would say will put you in a situation. This wasn't even towards extra, just like I think in the first 90 minutes or so. There's 5 things I would say. The first thing is the players itself. Obviously, we're a team of the season now, but if you're watching this FIFA 21 time or 22, obviously the lower ranked player is going to have less stamina, we know that. Number 2 is tactics. This can fall down into 2 things. It can branch down into instructions and tactics, but I'll get on to that in a second. There's D-pad tactics, which is probably the main reason. The game itself, and also teammate contain. I'll try to go through these individually. So let's talk about the players itself first. So if we're going to go into let's say ultimate team, we go into a game. Now, generally speaking, a lot of the time, if you have a very cheap goldish team, you'll find that stamina is going to go down a lot. So obviously on the right hand side, you can see stamina 79 Wan-Bissaka. You're going to lose stamina. Obviously, it depends what player is playing where. Generally speaking, you'll see that center mids lose the most stamina because if you think, let's say like if you're like a 4-2-3-1, you got this guy, for example, on balanced, going up and down the entire time, he's going to lose stamina. Whereas, for example, a centre back who just sits back most of the time, or a striker that's on stay forward, they're not going to use that much stamina. So I would say mainly the wingers that lambing around on comeback and defence, the left back and right back if they're overlapping, and the centre mids are generally the ones that are more susceptible. So that's why you see most players use subbing off the wingers, because the wingers are always going forward, and most of the time they're on comeback and defence. So that's the first thing, is players itself. In terms of what I was going to say, tactics. So there's 2. So instruction. So if you use aggressive interceptions, it can mess up with your stamina. That is one thing as well. I would say don't even use it. In all honesty, it's completely pointless. If you, for example, have someone on comeback and defense and get into the box and you have aggressive interceptions on, they're going to be using more stamina than a normal player that doesn't have that. That's another thing to bear in mind. So that's all the biggest thing. The main thing though is tactics. So generally speaking, I find that if you have, for example, a very low depth and you play drop back and you have fast build-up play, and let's say you go to a wide width, this is what will kill your stamina the most. Just because you're going from like a drop back phase, so a fast build-up play, so you're going all the way, everyone's parking a bus, then you're going quickly fast build-up play, you're going to lose a lot of stamina. But the worst is constant pressure. Now, I'll get on to this from the D-pad tactics, but constant pressure is the main way people lose stamina. If your stamina is looking something like this, I'm pretty sure I'll tell you 2 things for a fact now. Is because you got constant pressure on, or you overload the ball side on. Normally around about a tile, he's got yellow. If someone's, assuming he's not a sub, if someone's got around about that yellow kind of stamina, you can argue maybe a bit of a pressing tactic, maybe a second extra time. But to be red, you have to be on constant pressure, overload the ball sides. Overload the ball side, D-pad tactic. But any of these, even for example, pressure on heavy touch, pressure position loss to use stamina. Generally speaking, I would say balance probably uses the least in theory, depending on how you build up. Drop back, you sit back and you're going up and down, so you do lose a bit more. Again, debatable. You can argue these 2 are the least. Then it's pressure on every touch, which is a bit more of like a conservative. Pressure on every touch, basically like balanced. But then the team press when there's a good chance to win the ball. But this one, you're pressing after 7 seconds all the time, so you're going to be losing stamina most of the time. And it costs pressure, you're pressing all the time. So that's why your stamina is going down with any of these instructions on. Same thing with offensive styles. Now, I would say possession, balanced, and even long ball, they don't really use that much stamina, to be completely honest. I would say fast build-up play does use the most. If you've got fast build-up play and constant pressure on, the stamina is going to run out quick time. So do bear that in mind. So I would say try to avoid using constant pressure. And if you are, for example, realizing your stamina is low, make sure you have the right. Because if you're using pressure to possession loss, you're going to be using stamina. Even if you've got team of season players, you are going to be using stamina. Another thing is overload the ball side. So a lot of people don't know this, but overload the ball side is a big problem in this game because you don't know when it's on or not. And what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, don't forget, a lot of even Gold 1 players, even going towards Elite, don't even use overload the ball side, right? It's only if you actively know what it is. But if you activate overload the ball side is basically like a light switch. It's either on or off. That's it. It's either on or off. And you won't know. So if you press, if you're in a game and you press down your D-pad, you get these, like, you can do the offside trap. But if you activate, for example, I think it's left, I think it's right, I think it's down and right, I think. Down and right is overload the ball side with OBS. The problem is if you activate it, you won't know. It'll be turned on and that's it. And then you won't realize until it's too late. On an advanced level, you'll be able to look at the radar and see, for example, if your team is more narrow. But a lot of players don't realize that. So if you are finding your stamina halftime has gone down, go into your defensive, you go into your tactics, check that out, and go to your dynamic tactics, press down, press right, get rid of overload the ball side, because once you turn it on, you don't even know it's on. There's no indicator saying it's on unless you actually go into the menu. So you have to bring up those menus first, press down and see if it's on or not. So don't forget, if it's off, it's going to be on green. The second thing is the game itself. Now, some people park the bus. If the game is end to end, the entire game, you'll find that stamina will get used a lot more quickly. If the game is end to end, let's say for example you both got the ball, you're both pressing, you're both going forward. Same with the L1 triggers. If you're using the L1 button, you're spamming all these plays, make runs going forward, you're going to be using a lot of stamina as well. So that is something to bear in mind. So if you're using L1 triggers, that's another thing. Creative runs, everything of that nature. The final two things I want to say is one is that I would say is running. Players, they run too much. This run button, in my opinion, my best advice for everyone watching this video, only use the run button if there's a chance for you to run when you're running onto a through ball down the wing only. You should not be using the run button apart from that unless you're defending, like a running jockey. But too many players in attack, they use the run button. In fact, I can guarantee this, let go of the run button, I guarantee you'll win more games. I'm not even joking, because everything is slowed down, you have more time to make decisions, you have more control over the ball. And don't forget, when you're running, you can't do skill moves, you push the ball too far away, you're limited in what you can do. Everything you take off, that was a shot, pass, everything is reducing accuracy. So running, it actually has no purpose, only if you want to get from A to Z quicker. Too many players are trying to run like into your opponent's back four. You can't. If, for example, you're running down the wing, let's say your opponent's back four, and you're running onto a ball, okay, fine. But if you're running towards your opponent's back line, you should not be running unless there's obviously clear space in front of you. The last thing I want to say is teammate contain. A lot of people don't remember this, but teammate contain has been very much nerfed now. But a lot of people don't realize that they overuse teammate contain. Now, there's two things I want to say about this. I know most of you guys don't use teammate contain, but teammate contain, in theory now, so my teammate contain button is square. In case you're wondering, it's because I use PES controls, old school ISS controls, but that's my teammate contain button. For you, it should be, I think it's RB by default, I think. So it should be RB by default. Basically, the players don't run anymore, they just jog. But too many players are, for example, using the teammate contain button and their players going out of position, and then they're using the run button to recover. So that is something that I've been finding very much recently. And this is not only just for while your stamina going down. The problem is that people are not realize that they're negatively affecting their gameplay, because they use, for example, which teammate contain, you should not be using it realistically unless you're pressing on a very high level. But if you leave it on and you use it, you bring players out of position and you'll concede more goals. So make sure you don't use teammate contain unless you really know what you're doing, apart from some few chances down the wing in regards to that. But that's what I'd say. And at the end of the day, don't forget, stamina is greatly affects all the stats. Everyone keeps forgetting this. There's this little article that I want to show you now. It is FIFA 19, right? Don't get me wrong, it is FIFA 19. But it is the exact same thing. So the game hasn't changed, okay? So I want to show you this. This is actually from EA themselves. Actually, I want to show you this. So this is a link from EA that explains chemistry styles, because everyone had this issue with, how does chemistry styles work? What does it do? And there was just kind of this whole thing around this in this scene, like, oh yeah, why do players lose stats and everything like that? If you can, this is the official EA site, as you can see. People are going to say DDA, okay? Now, I need to tread very much lightly before I upset some fairies. But I don't actually know. I don't even know. I don't care anyway, normally. In my opinion, DDA doesn't exist. I don't care what pro player said what. I don't care if the guy who made the game itself said it. In my opinion, it doesn't exist. Just understand that I understand the game to the nth detail. And I'm telling you, a game this broken, whenever I'm 4-0 down, the game's not doing me any favors. There's a difference between RNG and the game being broken, and then people don't understand the difference, and then they mix it up, and then I think some guy puts it on Reddit or some famous content creator says it, and everyone just follows like sheep. But you want the honest truth from me, it doesn't exist. But all these things affect. So when you, for example, find that your passing is messed up or your acceleration, you can't run, your marking and reactions are two of the most important things. with low stamina, these are going to negatively affect your play. That's why during 90 minutes, 45 minutes, you find out your players are, they don't, 90 minutes, 45-minute goals don't exist. I've already made a video on that explaining how they don't exist. Go watch that video if you want to see the actual reason and how to prevent that from happening, if you actually want to learn. But assuming that's to the side, that's the reason why players mess up. But that's what I wanted to show you, because I think a lot of people, they don't really understand it. If you don't believe me, I don't care, unsubscribe. You remember this as well. I don't work for EA. Me saying this doesn't do me any favors. In fact, I lose subs every time I say this. But my job is not here to lie to you so you can like me, so you can give me your money. My job is to tell you the truth, and that's the way I'm gonna do it, whether you like me or not. But that's the kind of thing I wanted to mention in regards to that. So stamina is more important than you think, and even though this is FIFA 19, it's the exact same thing. Nothing else has changed, so that is something just to bear in mind. But whether you believe in DDA or whatever you want, it doesn't make a difference to me. I don't care whether you want to believe it or not. But the most important thing is you understand is that stamina affects your gameplay. So whatever you do, just make sure you have your right dynamic tactics on and your tactics on, and that way you will not be pushing that situation. But anyway guys, thanks for watching. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.